We are back to What Did AI Say? Episode number 34. Gratitude is the attitude. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. Today's question is a good one because there are times I know for myself that I have to take a refresher course on something that I learned years ago just to make sure that I still understand and know what the information is. So that's where this question spawned from because I was saying to myself, I kind of forgot. And I wanted to just hear what AI had to say. So let's go ahead and start. Of course, we are going to start with Chatgpt. And the question is there a real difference between the U.S. Democratic and Republican Party? That's a good one, right? Okay, here we go. Yes, there are real and significant differences between the Democratic and Republican parties in the U.S., especially when it comes to policy, priorities, ideology, and the constituencies they serve. However, both are broad coalitions and do sometimes overlap in practice, especially on issues like foreign policy or when lobbying interests shape outcomes. Okay, so they overlap at times in issues like foreign policy or when lobbying interest shape outcomes. Okay, here we go. Here's a summary of the key differences. 1. Ideology and role of government. Democrats generally support a more active role for government in addressing social and economic issues. For example, healthcare, education, and climate change. Republicans tend to favor limited government, individual responsibility, and free market solutions. 2. Economic policy. Democrats advocate for progressive taxation, more regulation of businesses, raising the minimum wage, and increased social spending. Republicans prefer lower taxes, especially for corporations and the wealthy, less regulation, and reduced government spending, except often on defense. Number 3, healthcare. Democrats support public health care options, Affordable Care Act, Medicare expansion, or universal health care for some factions. Republicans, excuse me, Republicans, on the other hand, oppose government-run health care, favoring private insurance markets and individual choice. 4. Climate and environment. Democrats acknowledge climate change as a major issue, support renewable energy, and back environmental regulations. Republicans, more skeptical of climate change urgency or regulation, often support fossil fuel industries and deregulation. Okay, let's turn the page here because I think ChatGPT had more to say. Oh, yeah, wow. ChatGPT has a whole second page. Okay, number 5, social issues. Democrats, pro-choice, support LGBTQ plus rights, gun control, criminal justice reform, and expanded voting rights. Republicans, more likely to be pro-life, emphasize traditional values, gun rights, stricter immigration laws, and election security. 6. Demographics and base. Democrats tend to draw support from urban areas, younger voters, racial minorities, and secular or liberal learning individuals. Republicans, stronger in rural areas among older and white voters, evangelical Christians, and conservative-leaning individuals. Sorry about that. 7. Foreign policy. Both parties generally support strong U.S. global leadership, but Democrats often favor diplomacy, multilateralism, and human rights. Republicans may emphasize military strength, national sovereignty, and America First policies, where they sometimes converge. Both parties have at times supported large military budgets, been influenced by corporate lobbying, passed bipartisan bills, for example, infrastructure or crime legislation. In practice versus in principle. While the ideology divide is real, in practice, Both parties are influenced by political incentives, corporate interest, and institutional inertia, which can sometimes blur lines and frustrate ideological purists. That's it. Okay, that's it for what ChatGPT had to say, and that was very interesting, and I believe extremely correct. Okay, let's go ahead and see what Deepseek had to say, and Deepseek has 2 pages as well. So here we go. Just a reminder of the question. Is there a real difference between the U.S. Democratic and Republican Party? Yes, there are significant and enduring differences between the Democratic and Republican parties in the United States, rooted in contrasting ideologies, policy priorities, and voter bases. Here's a comparative analysis based on the search results. Number 1, core ideologies. Democrats generally align with liberal progressive values emphasizing social equality, government intervention in the economy, and environmental protection. They support a larger role for government in providing social services, for example, healthcare, education, and regulating industries. Republicans advocate for conservative principles prioritizing limited government, free markets, individual liberties, and traditional social values. They favor tax cuts, deregulation, and state/local authority over federal mandates. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Okay. Number 2, economic policies. Taxation. Democrats support progressive taxation, higher rates for the wealthy to fund social programs, while Republicans push for lower taxes across the board and often propose flat tax systems. Government spending. Democrats back expanded social welfare, for example, Medicaid food stamps, whereas Republicans prioritize military spending and reducing entitlement programs. Healthcare. Democrats champion universal health care, example, Affordable Care Act, and government involvement. Republicans oppose socialized medicine, favoring private sector solutions. Okay, number 3, social issues. Abortion. Democrats defend abortion rights and Roe v. Wade. Republicans seek restrictions or bans, emphasizing pro-life stances. I'm going to inject something here. The Republicans don't emphasize pro-life stances. They emphasize pro-birth. They don't care what happens to the kid once it's here, because they not going to feed it, they not going to house it, they not going to give it any health care. But they want it born. So I hate when we say pro-life when it's actually just pro-birth. Okay. LGBTQ plus rights. Democrats support marriage equality, adoption rights, and anti-discrimination laws. Republicans traditionally oppose these, citing religious freedom, though internal divisions exist. Gun control. This is a biggie. Democrats advocate for stricter regulations, for example, background checks, assault weapon bans. Republicans emphasize Second Amendment rights and oppose new restrictions. And then religion. Republicans more frequently cite faith as a personal motivator and support religious influence in public life. Example, school prayer. Democrats prioritize secular governance. Whew, that's a biggie right there. Most definitely. Okay, number 4. Foreign policy and national security. Military. Republicans favor unilateral action, increased defense budgets, and aggressive national security postures. Democrats prefer multilateral diplomacy and reduced military spending. Climate change. Democrats push for international climate agreements, for example, the Paris Accord and green energy. Republicans often dismiss climate policies as economically harmful. Immigration. Democrats support pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Republicans emphasize border security and oppose amnesty. Okay, page 2. Number 5, voter demographics and geography. Democrats dominate urban areas, coastal states, and among younger voters, women, ethnic, racial minorities, and college graduates. Republicans are strongest in rural regions, the South, Midwest, and among older white evangelical evangelical, and working class voters. I'm so sorry. Cultural values. Republicans derive meaning from God, freedom, and country. Democrats cite health, hobbies, and nature. Okay, number 6, internal diversity. Both parties face intra-party divisions. Democrats range from moderate establishment liberals to progressive factions pushing for systemic change on racial justice and economic inequality. Republicans include traditional conservatives, committed conservatives, populist right, and less conservative and ambivalent right members. I never even heard of that. Okay, number 7, historical evolution. Party realignments. The Democratic Party shifted from agrarian conservative roots pre-1960s to progressive urban coalitions. Republicans evolved from abolitionism to pro-business conservatism. Recent shifts. The 2024 Republican platform softened language on abortion and same-sex marriage, while Democrats intensified pro-abortion rights messaging. Conclusion. Deepseek's conclusion. The differences are profound and structural, extending beyond policy to cultural identity and sources of meaning. While both parties prioritize family, their visions for society, collectivist versus individualist, activist government versus limited government, create distinct governing approaches. Polarization has intensified, though internal factions reveal nuanced viewpoints. Okay, that was a lot. Okay, so how does any of this affect our daily lives? A couple of things I just want to say really quickly. First of all, I don't subscribe to either party because there are some things that I believe that I think are supposed to be Republican, and there's some things that I think are supposed to be Democrat. I think that whole separation and how that works out is ignorant, and I wish we had more than two parties, because having two parties is not giving us an opportunity to get away from the compromised people. We need to have 3, 4, 5 parties that we can vote for so that we don't have to keep voting for the worst of the best of the worst. I think that is the worst situation that we've put ourselves into, and we deserve better. We American citizens deserve better. We should not have to go to the polls and every time say, who is the best of the worst? I mean, who's not tired of that? I know I am. Okay, so let's go back to, what was the one thing that I want to say about? Oh, okay, so we talked about really quickly the pro-birth and not pro-life. Okay, make sure that we know that. Also, there are a lot of things that the Republicans are kind of leaning more Democrat, and Democrats are kind of leaning more Republican. And I just think that voting for either one of those is just a waste. They're all so compromised. That's just my personal opinion, my humble personal opinion. But, our country for right now is still free, so you vote however you want to. Okay, let's get to our positive saying for today. Light can exist in the presence of darkness and be okay. Darkness can't exist in the presence of light. Repeat that. Light can exist in the presence of darkness and be okay. Darkness can't exist in the presence of light. Thank you so very much for your time. Peace.